Hi Avish, how are you, my friend? So you ready to discuss some cricket today?
All good, and you, sir. How you doing?
I'm fine. I am optimistically looking forward
Yeah,
to some cricket, even though it might happen at the end of the year with the Australia and India series, and hopefully some World Cup.
yeah, definitely, man. Yeah, I think we all could do with some international cricket. It's been you're looking at about 3 months without action for at the moment, but it feels like it feels much longer than that, man. It feels a lot longer than that. Yeah, so yeah, fingers crossed. Hoping for some action very soon on the international circuit. Some probably I think we could do with any international cricket at the moment, be it a Test series, be it an ODI series, anything for that matter. As long as we got some cricket, you know. Yeah, I think that's the most disappointing.
But
Yeah,
what's nice on the TV is that they are showing some really good legends playing the matches, especially the Ashes they
yeah,
show on TV, like the great bowlers such as McGraw, etc. And now, speaking of great bowlers, now there have been people doing comparisons now between McGraw and Sean Pollock. So, who do you like between those two, and why?
it's funny. It's funny you say about this. It's funny you talk about the Ashes because I watched a clip yesterday on the Ashes, and I quite enjoyed it. It was the 2005 Ashes series, which is actually dubbed as the greatest Test series of all time. Because
Hmm,
if you look at that game, and if you look at that series as a whole,
hmm, hmm.
uh, Australia were Australia had the wood over England for God knows when. I mean, ever
Yeah,
since Shane won and Cole got in, was on the scene. I mean, England couldn't reclaim the Ashes. I mean, Australia
yeah,
were just too dominant. But
yeah.
that series was a turning point. It was a turning point in English cricket. Uh, for the next generation of players. And McGrath, the wily old fox pitcher,
Yeah,
he was quite superb in that first test. And
yeah,
at at,
it
uh,
was.
at, his, at his famous hand was Lords assist him very much with his action because he's got that very gentle action, and you've got that slope at Lords that allows him to get that ball up to the batsman and get him to nick off. So he was unplayable in that first innings.
Yeah,
Um, the one player that he's actually been, I guess, compared to in some sort has been Pollock, Sean Pollock. I can understand why, because both these bowlers were actually very economical. You know, they never gave much away
yeah,
to the opposition.
yeah.
If you had to score runs off these bowlers, you really had to do something. You know, you really had to take a risk here and there to get runs off these two opening bowlers, these two pacemen, so to speak.
But I have this theory in my head, and it's not to take any credit away from the English Ashes, but when McGraw got injured in that second test, it kind of gave them that oomph to really, really play well. And then from there, even though they barely won that second test, it just gave them that lease of life to then just play so well that they won the test series. So my theory is that if McGraw had played that whole Ashes, I think it would have been another victory for Australia, and then I don't think English cricket would have been as good as it is right now. Maybe they might have been good, maybe in the ODI game, but Test series, Test team,
Okay, look, judging by what I saw in that series, and I mean, I watched test after test in that documentary. It was very interesting. I think England, obviously, you can say McGrath was a factor. Of course, he was. Um, I think England's batting improved a lot in the second test
yeah.
and
But McGraw
towards
wasn't bowling, remember?
the end of
So
the
it gave
series.
them that. Yeah,
Yeah, I guess, but there are a lot of players that actually stepped up. I mean, you can
yeah,
only beat the team that you
yeah. I
presented with,
know. I don't
So,
dispute that, but I'm
or,
just saying that.
so
Yeah,
England, yeah. You know what? God knows what. I mean, that Australian team was at its peak, So
Yeah.
Whatever victory you could get out,
Yeah.
you could
You
get
take what you can get, right?
out of those tests
Like bits and
was
scraps.
take what you can get. So that second test did go down to the wire. I didn't expect it to be such a close one, but
Yeah.
it was tantalizingly close, and it was absolute torture for the English crowds.
Yeah.
Was it Edgbaston? Hey, yeah, it was torture. It was absolute torture watching that test match.
Because
But
when you watch,
credit to England.
yeah, of course. I mean, they were smart enough to take advantage. I mean, other teams would have still. But then I was thinking that when England went back to Australia, and now when you have those two legends together, it just made the difference. That when McGrath there,
Yeah,
the whitewash them 5-0. And I'm not trying to be horrible to England, but if McGrath played that whole session in England, it would have probably been a similar score line, maybe 5
I
0
guess
4-1. It could have been that because McGrath is just too good, man. He's got that
what?
mental edge over there,
Look,
man. He's got that mental edge.
probably you look at that England team, right? What was actually in their favor is that team didn't have a lot of scarring, meaning there wasn't a lot of players that played in previous Ashes series and got beaten heavily by the Aussies. So this was like a new breed of English players. Your Andrew Strausses, your Hoggarts. Well, Hoggart did play a bit previously, but I'm not too sure.
I remember Hoggart did play that
but
series.
I think the one player. Yeah, I think the one player that really stood out from an English perspective was Freddie Flintoff. He was sensational. He was sensational. With bat and ball, he took his chances.
Well, we could mention him
was the
in a later
foil.
topic. We can talk about Fred Flintoff in a later topic. So now enough of the bowlers. Let's get into the batsmen, man. Let's get into the batsmen.
I think what we're trying to compare now, who's better between Pollock and McGrath. And I'd have to say it's a tough one. If you had to say who's a better cricketer, you'd probably say it's Pollock. Given his batting prowess and overall fielding, and he had a chance to captain his captaincy and his tactical awareness on the game and so forth. But in terms of a bowler, I think you probably got to give this. I think you probably got to give this one to Pigeon. I think you've got to give this one to Pigeon.
Of course. I would give it to him as well.
The reason being, I don't think Australia.
He's delivered on the big stage.
Australia lost many. Yeah, I mean,
like the 2007 World Cup. Remember the 2007 World Cup? We picked up the most wickets, I think.
100%. Who would have thought at that age he'd come back and cause so much damage? But I just wanted to gauge something here quickly, right? Let's look at the one in McGrath era, and I just want to find out how many Test series did Australia lose in that time, that period.
Those two together, not many.
Wasn't too many. I would say the only reverse was the Ashes in 2005. They were virtually unbeatable at home. Can we say that? I think they were unbeatable.
I remember when Shane Warne and McGrath lost a series. I remember the one in India. They lost in India, and that too was a miracle series. That was awesome to watch.
That was a humdinger. Yeah, I remember that series. India had to play out of the skins to come back in that series. So I think we got a clear winner. Given conditions.
He's my favorite bowler anyway, so I'm going to be kind of biased towards him, but he's also had big impact. I mean, favorite bowler. I mean, consistent line, length, impact. He's just awesome.
Awesome. I guess he could do it on any pitch, even those dead wickets in India. He could have still taken wickets. So this is a clear winner. Pigeon. Yeah, it's Pigeon for me. Clear winner, McGrath.
Need a bird.
Yeah. Okay. So.
Okay. You want to get into
on the subject of bowlers.
Oh, bowlers.
I think on the subject of bowlers, we could probably talk about two spinners, which is a very, very hotly contested debate here. Shane Warne and McGrath. Shane Warne and
Murali.
And Murali. Yeah. Wow. both impact players for their teams, both match
Yeah.
winners. I guess you got to come down to one aspect here and ask yourself whose craft is actually much more difficult to master
Hmm.
in terms of leg spin
You know
and off
what's
spin.
funny about this one?
Because
I'm more on Murali's side, and I'll tell you why. Because when it comes to batsmen, when Shane Warne got his wickets, they were against Western batsmen, and Western players aren't good against spin. And now, when you look at Murali's wickets, his wickets were against all types of countries. So that's why I found Murali has that edge for that very reason. You know what I'm saying?
I could agree with you there. I would say, so we probably gauge on saying that Shane Warne didn't have a very good record against India. Can we say that?
In India, that is. That too in India, which is a bit strange.
Okay, he didn't have a good record in India, but he had a good record against Western batsmen. Your Kiwis, your English, and your South Africans. So, I'd say West Indians as well. The West Indians weren't very good at leg spin either way.
No, but Lara was awesome against Shane Warne. You can't just
I think Lara. Okay. If you had to say, yeah, I think you probably have to. If you had to gauge on this one, it's a tough one. It's a tough one because.
Also, Murali's got more wickets than Shane Warne. But then people will have their own arguments saying that Murali got most of his wickets in Sri Lanka, which is true. I wouldn't be able to argue with him either. So it's a difficult one. I mean, it's tough. I mean, we'll have to just stick to our own in this one. We can call it a tie.
Look, I wanted to call this a tie, right? But I looked at Murali's figures, and I always pointed to Shane Warne here. But when I looked at Murali's figures, and I just thought to myself, this guy is astonishing. I mean, his stats are astonishing, and is anybody ever going to actually match those stats? I mean, he overtook Wasim Akram for most wickets in ODIs, and he's obviously got the most wickets in Test matches. So, oh boy, if you look at Wani was so dominant in England. He was dominant in South Africa. He was dominant at home. You ask yourself this question: how many matches did each bowler win for its country? If you look at it, if you look at the Australian team was actually quite strong because they had those opening bowlers to obviously soften the batsman up, and then Warne used to come in and he was a master of getting rid of the middle order and till, you know. Whereas Murali used to bowl like 40, 50 overs in tandem, so that was a lot of responsibility on his shoulders. And I think the only player that he had was Vas on the other end, whereas Warne had the likes of McGrath, Gillespie, you had Lee coming in towards the latter stages. You had a bit of
I think Australia were just too talented.
You had a bit of Kasparich, and you had So Australians had options. Let's not doubt that. Probably that's what made them such a successful team, because a team that actually didn't have a genuine all-rounder as the Australians did, but still managed to be the best team in the world, is because they had such great opening bowlers that could
but then wouldn't you say Shane Warne is kind of like an all-rounder? Could say Shane Warne is kind of like an all-rounder. He can bat, can bowl, can field.
I would say so, but
you could say like a semi-all-rounder maybe.
Semi all-rounder, but not as consistent as what you expect from an all-rounder. You know, not as consistent. So I think for sheer
like a bowling all-rounder, they call him.
Yeah, no, definitely. I would say for sheer I would say for sheer responsibility and master of his craft, and if you look at those numbers, I think you probably have to keep this one to Murali, hey?
Okay.
I don't think there'll be another bowler with those sort of figures.
Especially if you can just twerk his arm like this,
Yeah,
Eh,
yeah. I mean,
twerk up.
he's got a very deceptive action, so
Yeah.
a lot of batsmen couldn't actually read him. That's what made him so difficult, especially in the air. They couldn't judge him. With Wani, it was also with flight and so forth. But I felt if you look at one, I think a lot of batsmen were actually fearful of him. They probably let him settle. Whereas I think the best option against him was to sweep, because
Okay.
batsmen that used to sweep against him were quite successful.
Yeah.
That's just my opinion. Yeah, but I think this one we probably have to give it to Murali. Champ, he's a champ. Murali.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
but then now that I think about it, I've always found it strange because really, when he came to the Western countries, he did do great. I mean, he had his spurts of great moments. Like in England, he got 8 wickets at one time, and then in South Africa. So maybe it could be a case of Shane Warne maybe pipping him. But then I only thought of Murali because he got so many wickets more than Warne. But then the advantage was that Murali won got most of his wickets at home. So I guess if you're not looking at wickets, but you're looking at
Uh,
complete versatility,
I
maybe Shane Warne
guess
takes it. If you're looking at complete versatility, maybe Shane Warne pips it. Hmm. But then I
it's a
think
tough one.
I think if you're looking at wickets mainly, then yeah, Murali will take it. If you're looking at a deciding
I
factor,
would
then
say, yeah, yeah, yeah. Murali's he's been a champ, and
yeah, they're both champs.
as you say, Western countries, he didn't have a very good record. Uh, with Wani, some of his deliveries were like, you know,
Saying,
unplayable, and especially that first ball that he bowled in the Ashes series, his first Ashes.
yeah,
That they obviously claimed that to be the ball of the century against.
yeah,
Yeah, well, he bowled Mike Catting, and the ball pitched on leg stump, and then it spun so prodigiously, and he hit the top of off stump. And wow, that was a
yeah,
beautiful delivery. Probably the best delivery you'll ever see. The
yeah.
best delivery you'll ever
Yeah,
get from
we could have like an episode just
a
purely
bowler.
on Shane Warne and Murali, but I think we got to be fair now and get onto the batsman. Like,
Absolutely.
I
But I think
mean,
I think I think if we got to be fair, we're talking about Murali numbers. Nobody can match Murali. But in terms of sheer assistance and I guess tactical awareness, Juan was a very good tactician of the game, because if you look at his field settings and all, it was precise.
you
And he always had such an influence on the game.
know,
So yeah, I think we could probably tie this one, because Murali wins this one on numbers, but Juan wins
yeah,
this one on influence on the game.
yeah.
Yeah.
This is
So I
like,
think I think we could settle for a tie here. Yeah,
okay,
yeah,
so
yeah. I think we should settle for a tie here.
okay,
It's a really tough one. It's a really tough one. Really, really tough one. Yeah.
yeah,
I know there's a lot of people that would doubt us, but I
that's
think
okay. They're
watching
entitled
these
to their
blokes
opinion.
play over the years,
Mhm.
yeah, I guess you can't really separate these two. You can't really separate these two at all. All right, so let's get on to the batsman.
Yeah, Chiduka versus Lara, and why?
Wow, probably the two best batsmen of the modern era. Um, from a from a technique point of view, I'd probably say Sachin had the best technique in
Yeah,
the game, because if you look at any opposition for that matter, and there were some really good bowlers in his time. There were
yeah,
some really, really good bowlers.
yeah,
We're talking about McGraths, we're talking about the Alan Donalds, uh, especially the Pakistani pair of Wazir Wakar and Wazim. I
mm,
mean, that gave a lot of batsmen problems, a lot of batsmen nightmares. But I think the one player that actually they didn't actually really trouble a lot was Sachin, because he had such good feet, and his wrists were so that was like a magic that he had, especially he had probably had the best wrists in the game, his shots and his cover drives, best technique, unmatched by any batsman in this era apart from Bradman, but that's a topic for another day.
Yeah, but then I think if you're getting onto now Lara, I mean, I remember what Ponting used to say is that I don't know if it was Ponting or Steve Waugh, but they said that Lara, you wouldn't be able to get a night's sleep because you knew that Lara could do it the following day. But I think with Tendulkar, he felt that there was probably a chance of getting him out or something. Lara is just such a
I would definitely say so.
player, But
if you look at it, if you really wanted, if you really wanted a batsman to take the game away in a session, I'd say Brian Charles Lara was a man for you. Absolutely destructive player when he was in. The thing with Lara is if he was quite what can I say? He was quite fragile at the beginning of his innings, but once he settles his eye in and he plays his cover drives and his pull shots and gets past 50, he's not going to give you another chance. He is not going to give you another chance. And when Lara gets in, he scores big and he makes you pay really, really big. Yeah, I think he had such an appetite for big scores, and I don't think there's any batsman that actually held so many batting records in this era as Lara did. And flamboyant, as you say, destructive, attacking, everything you wanted from your premier batsman. He was a joy to watch, and he was a perfect number three for any team.
But if you start looking at the stats, right, you would say that Sachin probably edges it because I think he had the most runs overall. I think the Test and one day. Unless I'm wrong, but I think Sachin.
Most certainly. I would say Sachin scored a lot of runs because let's face it, the guy made his debut at the age of 16. And
True.
He played 24 years of international cricket compared to Lara. He had a lot of time. And if you look at the Indian team, they usually play a lot more cricket than other nations.
That's true.
Wouldn't you say so?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, they do play a lot more one days. They play a lot more test matches compared to the West Indies. Well, I think Lara, had he been given more time at international level, he probably would have gotten very close to those records. From an attacking sense, you got to give it to Lara. He could take the game away from the opposition. But in terms of technique, you got to give it a Sachin. And I think over a period of time, he showed his consistency in every single condition in the world against every single attack. Wow. I mean, he was cut above the rest. He was cut above the rest. He was an absolute champion.
You kind of miss batsmen like those two,
Yeah, you definitely do, hey? Because I guess there's a lot of players out there today that are good players.
Yeah.
Good players, not great players.
Yeah.
I'm talking about two really great players.
And my theory is that if you're looking at the pitches today in the world, most of them are batsman friendly. So now, how do you differentiate between really great players? Don't get me wrong, Kohli and everything, but I feel that Kohli needs to still prove himself on seaming pitches. I think until he can really.
That is my one criticism I feel at the moment is a lot of people want to compare Kohli to Tendulkar, but I think that's being a bit foolish because you can't really compare Tendulkar to anybody.
Yeah.
You can't really compare Tendulkar to anybody. And as you're saying, a lot of the pitches these days are batsman friendly.
Yeah.
And Kohli has scored a lot of runs, but a lot of runs has been scored in India. And I know he's got a superb record in India. His conversion rate in run chases and so forth are like second to none. But
Yeah.
I mean, if you played in India and if you ask any player that's played in India, be it a South African, Australian, or a Kiwi, they'd say those are the best batting wickets. Do you agree?
I think, but you see, Kohli's played really well in Australia, if you've noticed. I know his record in New Zealand is a bit icky. He played well nearly everywhere in the world, just in New Zealand and in England. I mean, he played well in England, very well for the last Test series, but I think there he did ride his luck quite a bit because he was beaten quite a lot with the bat, with the bat.
I guess, I guess with you,
yeah.
I guess you will be talking about Kohli now, right, against the Australians. But I feel if you look at the Australians, the attack probably they probably haven't had the best attack as they did in previous years gone by. So if you had to you have to put Kohli, say, against the Australian attack, 2005, 2006. You got Wan, you got Lee, you got Gillespie, and you got McGrath. Now, how would he fare against that attack? That would be quite interesting.
Yeah, but then it also depends on what pitches you're playing, right? Because if you're playing on those kind of pitches in those days, it would have been fun to see how Kohli would have handled it. I'm sure Kohli would have been okay because I think Kohli likes a challenge, but we just don't know, that's the problem.
We just don't know. So you got to give credit to Session. You got to give credit to Lara. But I think Session, you probably got to give this a Session because I think he's the one batsman in the world I really saw out of form.
Yeah. Crazy shit, man.
You agree?
Excuse my language. I shouldn't be swearing, but that's how it is.
I really, damn, man. I haven't really seen him out of form. I really haven't seen Session out of form. Albeit maybe, I mean, even when the India team was having the first tour, he was the best, scored the most runs. So he was cut above the rest. He was a legend. I think Tendulkar takes this one. Not that we got anything against Lara.
I like Lara.
We got anything against Lara.
I think problem is, I wonder when Lara. I don't think Lara had the World Cup to his name, so I guess Sachin can take.
No, he didn't. No, he didn't.
I think have that edge,
Yeah. I guess so,
yeah.
But and
yeah,
most certainly.
Okay.
Yeah,
we'll let Sachin take this one. But then either choice, we wouldn't have any issue with it either way because they're both legends in their own right. So we'll let them.
No, they're both legends, and they both make my World 11. I wouldn't leave these two players out at all for the world. I wouldn't leave them out at all. So they would probably be my first two names that I would pick up from the hat, and I'd say, these two blokes, I need them in my World 11. So they would be there. I guess the problem with Lara, he had more responsibility. And he played those knocks. Whereas Session, you give him a lot of credit because there was some good batsmen in the India team, and he still stood above the rest. You got to give it to the little master.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd say this one goes to Session, but we still love Lara. We still love Lara.
Love Lara. I mean, he was a legend. He was a
gentleman. Of course.
So now.
Yeah, he was a real gentleman.
So you want to get into Ponting versus Callis. I think you wanted to mention that those.
Oh wow. We were talking about Lara and Tendulkar. We were talking about Pollock and McGrath. We were talking about Wan and Mullery.
Yeah.
Wow. This probably is the tightest one of all.
Actually, now that I think about it now, in terms of it being tight, initially I would have thought so, but now I think about it and I think Ponting takes it, and I tell you why. In terms of batsmen, that is. I tell you why. Because I think Ponting has delivered such great performances that it's landed Australia World Cups, it's landed Australia Test wins. I mean,
Um,
what else has Ponting done?
Look, if we had to gauge on a one-day batsman, we had to put these guys on a one-day circuit. Yeah, Ponting takes us one
Okay.
head and shoulders above the rest.
Yeah.
But if you had to talk about Test match innings, I'd say Callis is quite close when it comes to Test matches, if not better, because I saw him play some gems in. Yeah, and I think he got better towards the end of his career.
Yeah,
But
he finally got that double
okay,
100.
yeah, 100% that eluded him for so long. If you had to pick it on a cricketer, you'd say Carlos is the best cricketer.
Of course, yeah.
He's a better cricketer. He's a better cricketer than Ponting. Probably I'd probably say the best cricketer, best all-round cricketer, let alone against Ponting.
Yeah.
The best all-round cricketer. But
Yeah.
in terms of a batsman,
mainly a batsman,
yeah, Ponter was he was stylish. He was aggressive, and as you said, he made the runs when it counted. So if you had to pick it on a batsman, yeah, definitely this one would go to Ponting any day. Yeah, I guess towards the end of his career, the reflexes and things got to him, but he had such a stellar career in ODIs and Test matches. He was like the he carried that Australian batting lineup for a while. Yeah.
But then if you go by captaincy, I think Ponting would beat Callis, but then Callis hardly captained South Africa, so it's a difficult test.
No, of course. Yeah, I don't think Callis would have particularly been a very good captain because I'll tell you why. In terms of captaincy, you got to have someone that's a little bit aggressive and a little bit, willing to take a few risks. And Callis, as great a player that he was, I felt that at certain times he didn't really take too many risks in the game. And even when he was batting, he looks solid. He looks solid on the eye.
Yeah.
He was supreme. I mean, his footwork and everything was solid. It's just that he didn't really take the game by the scruff.
Yeah.
Whereas Ponting did that.
Yeah,
Ponting did that. Ponting took the game away.
Yeah, Ian Chappell speaks about stuff like that.
Yeah, I know, and I heard an interview about what Ian Chappell said about Callis. I guess the only criticism of Callis and the reason why he's probably not appreciated that much is because he didn't really dominate.
Yeah, he wasn't very exciting.
He didn't really dominate the team.
Yeah.
Wasn't very exciting on the eye, but he got the job done. Eh?
Yeah. He's bailed us out of trouble so many times.
Yeah, definitely. If you look at his innings, I mean, where would Callis be? Where would the Proteas be without Callis at certain times? And if you look at the batting lineup now and the way it's going now, you would feel that he needed someone like Callis because he adds that glue to that middle order. That's always that's a ticking time bomb.
I don't know if you remember that
if
match.
That middle order doesn't deliver, then
I don't know if you remember that match at Kingsmead. India were playing them as they were in trouble, and Callis made a match-winning knock. And then I think India lost so bad they got bowled out for 80, I think. I was there for that match live, actually.
Yeah,
years ago. I don't know if you were there for that match.
I'm not sure if I was there for that match, but I do remember a match that I watched on TV, and I think this was one of his best innings to date. It was against England, and the English team were actually quite strong at that time. They were captain under one. They came down on the tour here, and South Africa. England made about they made a paltry score first innings. They made about 139. And then SA came into bed and they were in all sorts of trouble at 180 for 6. And guess who was still in? was King Callis. Callis was in.
Yeah.
So him and the tail put on another 222 runs for a total of 332. Well, let's say 224 runs for a total of 332. And Callis finished the innings with 139. I think it was a superb innings from JK, because he's super duper. He shepherded the tail and he was solid. And I felt if he went out, they probably would have crumbled. And they ended up saving that game. They were actually in dire straits. They ended up saving that game. I thought he played out of his skins there. I thought he played out of his skins. One of the best hunters I ever seen. And I still like to go and see it sometime on YouTube, because it was so superb. I mean, you had batsmen that were falling like flies on the other end, and then Callis was just holding one end. You know, it was superb. It goes to show his powers of concentration. You know, let's not underestimate that. He had some of the best powers of concentration in the game. But in terms of a batsman, I guess Punter was much more exciting, and he won a lot more matches, and he won a lot of critics over as well.
Yeah. But then you see, not to be horrible to our country, you see Australia been brought up in a way to play a positive brand of cricket. Well, in the 90s, South Africa's brand of cricket was a bit conservative, archaic. It's only now, in recent times, that our team started to be more similar to Australia in terms of how they play. So I guess can't really blame Callis.
I guess, I know what you're saying. I guess with the Proteas, when they first came onto the scene after that absence of so many years, the international absence, I guess they didn't want to lose too many matches.
Yeah.
But by not wanting to lose too many matches, they didn't win too many as well.
Yeah. Okay. You want to get into the all-rounders. I was thinking of this matchup, Callis versus Sobers or something like that. Or which matchup do you think sounds better?
To be honest with you, if you look at an all-rounder in this era, nobody actually matches up to JK. But I guess the one player that we could, I guess, it's crazy. It's honestly crazy. Gary Sobers was a super player.
Yeah, and it was exciting.
He was very exciting, but he didn't play a lot of ODI cricket.
Yeah.
I think he retired just before the ODI circuit could come onto the scene.
Yeah.
But I guess if you had to compare Callis to anybody in his time, in his era, I'd probably say you probably wanna kill me here, but I'd probably say it's Freddie Flintoff.
I wouldn't kill you, but I wouldn't kill you. There have been comparisons, but the problem with Freddie Flintoff was that he didn't play longer than Callis, and so it's hard to compare in terms of, and also you have to look at them heads to heads in terms of batting and bowling.
Yeah.
So Callis would still be Flintoff based on stats.
Look, Callis is in a league of his own.
Yeah.
But the only thing we can do is we can compare him to a few players. And Freddie Flintoff was a superb all-rounder. The only problem with Freddie Flintoff is that he had a lot of injuries. There was a lot of injuries that plagued his career. If you look at his back injuries and so forth, especially that, I think it was in the Ashes series as well, where he was batting and then he had a niggle and then he had to come out, and then there was he had to come out, and everybody was like and bated breath because the English, they didn't believe they were going to win the Ashes without Flintoff in the teams, and miraculously he kept on playing and he scored about 73, and that was a winning score that set up that narrow nail-biting win of 2 runs against the Aussies in that second test. I think another player you can bring into this discussion, probably one of the players that have been forgotten over the years, but I quite like the way he played the game. He was quite colorful and he was quite aggressive. as well. Chris Cairns from New Zealand.
Oh, I never thought that. I wasn't thinking of him. I thought you were referring to.
Chris Cairns.
Oh yes,
I
Chris
think
Gaines.
each
Yeah, I
time we
haven't
bring a
thought
Kiwi
about him in
player
a while.
up here, and Chris Cairns. Yeah, Chris Cairns, and I saw Chris Cairns play some wonderful rounds, and he was valuable with the ball too. He was really underestimated as a player.
Yeah.
I think because the Kiwis didn't play that many games, but if you look at Chris Cairns, whenever Chris Cairns was in the team, he always made an impact in the game. You know, super player. Yeah. I probably, if you had to compare Callis, I would say those two players definitely in terms of all rounders, because if I look at it, I'd say they both scored hundreds at ODI and TS level, and they both took a good number of wickets as well. But you can bring in someone else if you want to.
I was thinking of maybe Ben Stokes, but then Ben Stokes still has a while to go.
Nah, he still had a while.
Yeah, but he's very talented though. He gives us a hard time though, Ben Stokey. Stokey gives us a hard time.
Yeah, I don't know. For some reason, I don't know what it comes down to. I don't know why the Proteas have had such a difficult time bowling to him, whereas other teams have gotten Ben Stokes out cheaply. But the Proteas have always battled to get him out. Any reason why? You would think they battle against him?
Could be mental. Could be that the pitches we prepared are to his liking. I mean, even in Australia, Stokes plays quite well. But if you put Stokes in Asian conditions, then it could be quite fun.
It gets a bit tricky. So I think everybody's waiting for that tour of England going to India. That would be a good tour, eh?
Even Australia wants to go to India to try and conquer them. But then that's a story for another time, because I think. But then we haven't got into the debate between, like, I think if you're looking at Callis and Silvers now, getting back to that, I think we were digressing. Seriously, I think if you're going by excitement, Silvers wins it. But if you're going by long-term stats, Callis would kind of take it, but I don't feel too comfortable with that one.
I would never how exciting Silvers would have been in one-day cricket, but I know he was the first player to hit 6 sixes in an over, which I don't think Callis has done. I think he got 5, if I'm not mistaken, in an over. 5 sixes.
Didn't he do 6 sixes against Zimbabwe in a test match? Unless I'm wrong. Okay. Who knows?
I'm just trying to recall.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
So, that's funny.
It's a difficult one, eh? I'll probably tip JK, yeah, because he did it over such a long period.
Yeah. But then, if we're gonna go by excitement, I would give it to Silvers. But if you're gonna go by stats, then we'll give it to Callis. Let's just put it like that.
Yeah, let's put it that way.
Okay, yeah. So you want to get onto the fielders, or you still want to go into all-rounders?
Yeah, let's go to the fielders.
Jonty Rhodes or Ricky Ponting?
Wow. Who hit the stumps more often? Ponting. Wild catches, I'll give this to Jonty. Who saved the most runs in the outfield? I'll give this to Jonty. I think Jonty, he's the ideal fielder in that ring, or he's like the dream fielder for any team to have, and I think he offered something with his batting as well. I think his batting was like, but I think he wasn't given much credit for his batting, but I think he offered a lot with his batting as well in the team.
Yeah. But he was very good in the 99 World Cup. I mean, if I had won that World Cup, then I would have probably tipped this to Jonty. But then now I think Ponting has been brilliant in the field in every single World Cup he's played. So I think Ponting would probably win it.
if you're talking about a cricketer, yeah, you'd say Ponting has no match here. But if you're talking about a fielder, I think Jonty revolutionized fielding to another level. If you look at when he first came onto the scene and the '92 World Cup, the first World Cup that was shown in color, and that freakish run out of Inzamam in that '92 World Cup match, that was crazy, and that was historic at the same time. So, wow, it's a tough one, eh? This is really a tough one. I wouldn't really put all the blame on Jonty for '99.
No, I don't. I think that's Herschel Gibbs' fault. He dropped the catch.
No, that's Herschel Gibbs' fault. But it also boils down to I think people make too much out of what actually happened at the end.
Yeah.
But I think if we think about it in hindsight now, it shouldn't have got that close. It should not have got that close.
Yeah.
It was a paltry score they were chasing. It was a paltry score, and a team of SA's caliber, they're supposed to score that. They're supposed to knock those runs down with okay. In those days, I guess the run rates were not that quick as it is these days. But I would say 5 overs, 6 overs was fair. They could have chased that score down. It should never have went down to the last over and the penultimate ball. It should never have went that far. That's my personal opinion about it. I don't think it should have went that far. I think it's too late to cry over spilt milk and say feel sorry about yourself about being a nail biter and so forth. But in my personal opinion, it should not have been a nail biter. It should have been a one. I wouldn't say a one-sided, but it should have been an easy run chase.
My opinion is that SA complicated it for themselves is when they lost to Zimbabwe and when they dropped that catch in one of the group match, one of the Super 6 matches. I think Gibbs dropped a catch there, I think.
Yeah,
if Gibbs had dropped that catch, who knows what would have happened.
Who knows? We could have been playing Pakistan instead of
and then
Australia. But then you ask yourself this question: what would our chances have been against Pakistan as opposed to Australia? Now, is it because it was Australia that they cracked under pressure, or was it because of the situation?
Are you referring to the Pakistan-Australia final, or what are you referring to?
No, I'm referring to the semi-final. Is it just because it was Australia? Is it just because it was Australia and there was so much expectation to get past Australia, or were they playing a little bit more relaxed against another opponent? Because I felt they were quite good against other opponents, but they weren't quite good against Australia for that matter. Whereas if you see the side now, the ODI team now currently, they play very well against Australia, but they falter against other teams. Do you gauge that?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I think we like playing against Australia because we have a winning record. But now against other teams, we don't have it. It's all a mental thing, right? So
it's a mental thing. I think Australia, they won the mind games. It's all about mind games, and they won the mind games. It's just that SA, they didn't hold the cool. They, as I say, that run rate, that run chase was supposed to be a comfortable run chase. No gremlins in the pitch at all. And they had a good start as well. So yeah, disappointing about it. But I don't think I blame the middle order and I blame the top order for that defeat, and not so much the lower order at all. I don't blame the lower order. In fact, I praise the lower order for getting us that close. But I blame the top order and the middle order for.
Problem was that everyone was too dependent on Klusener because he kept saving our butts. So it had to happen that you can't save your butt even towards the end. Actually, he could have, but then Donald was sleepwatching, or what do you call it?
Sleepwalking. He was ball watching. He was ball watching.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I got it. Ball watching. But
Yeah,
then
but
he
I
still
don't, I
didn't.
don't, I don't know.
Yeah. I don't think you
It was
should
bad
get.
communication.
Yeah. But I don't think you gave me an answer regarding that fielder question. I think we've been digressing because I don't think we could pick one. I think maybe we'll probably say both of them. It's another tie, or you could probably give it a punting, but then you wouldn't mind who you picked, I guess.
I think for sheer fielding, I'll probably give it to Jonty.
Okay.
I think there's a lot of things that Jonty did on the field that Ponting did not do. So when you're talking about a fielder, I'll probably give it to Jonty. He was a live wire. He was a live wire in the field. Live wire. Yeah.
Okay.
And I think if he played again, if he was in any other team, I hate saying this.
Yeah.
But he probably would have seen more success.
That's rough.
That's how good he was. Yeah, but I'm just saying,
and you're just being honest. I appreciate that. Honesty is best policy.
Yeah, he would have. But he was in a superb team as well. Let's make no mistake. He was in a superb team. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So
I think we can probably wrap it up here for today, and then have another cricket discussion closer to the World Cup, or we can probably talk maybe controversies on cricket next time.
I think we could probably discuss two more characters here, two more duos, and I think we can get into the wicketkeeper batsman, because I find that very exciting as well. The wicketkeeper batsman.
Yeah, Gilchrist versus who that one? Gilchrist versus Boucher or something like that.
Let's go Sangakkara. Let's go Gilchrist versus Sangakkara.
Okay.
I like that.
Okay.
Yeah. If we had to put it down to a wicketkeeper, you probably give this one to Gilly in terms of wicket-keeping ability and so forth, and the bowlers that he had to face, the bowlers that he had to keep wicket to quite elite in pace and so forth, and that made him razor sharp. In terms of the batsman now, wow. A lot of people have disagreed with me at certain times, and they've pointed a lot to Sangakkara, because Sanga's had quite a superb record in ODIs and tests. But I'd like to put it down to influence, and which batsman would give the opposition bowlers sleepless nights, and which batsman would you not want to come in. And I think Gilly was a player that whenever he came in, he always stamped his authority with the bat. He was absolutely dangerous. He was brutal at times, up the order. And even in test matches, when you feel you got Australia where you want them, Gilly could come in and change a game in a session, in literally a session. There were very few players in his time that could have done that. Not even the great Sangakkara could have done that in a session. But Gilly was a player that could turn the game on its head in one session of batting.
I'm trying to think now if there's anything else. I mean, what about if you're looking at stats, right? Who do you find is better between Gilchrist and Boucher?
Look, Bouch was a superb wicketkeeper. You could probably put him above Gilly in terms of wicket-keeping ability and so forth. But I felt he was quite talented as a batsman, but he was underused as a batsman.
But then Boucher is a different type of batsman.
He's a different type of batsman. But maybe if he was given that license, like let's say the Aussies, right? The Aussies built that aggressive approach around Gilchrist, because the winning Australian teams, the philosophy of Australia was built around Giddy, going out there and smashing the bowlers to all parts in the first 15 overs, which was a power play, which is obviously, it wasn't called a power play in those days, but yeah, you'd say the first 15 overs when you had the field restrictions, the Australians, they were masters at getting those boundary hits, and they used to play the ball over the top quite often, and they used to put you under tremendous pressure as opening bowlers, especially in ODI cricket. 6 and over. I don't think I've seen Australia at that time not go under 6 and over in ODIs. They were like 6 and over was Australia. That they never really batted lower than 6 and over.
Then, I think we should really save more future chats for the public, and next topic we ever do will be like controversy in cricket, you know, because I think we don't want to spoil the viewer that'll check up this video too much in one go. We want them to, you know, be relishing more. What do you think?
No, 100%. And I think if you guys have any other topics that you want to discuss, feel free to put it into the comments box, and we'll have a look at it. And yeah, we will have a look at it, and we would love to discuss it in our next segment. So if you guys have anything that you feel that needs some discussing, let us know about it, and yeah, we'll have a discussion about it next time.
Yeah, because because this will obviously be on the YouTube video, so obviously the comments will be there, and then it'll also be on our Facebook pages and everywhere. So it'll be nice to.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Obviously, this was our first trial, so
yeah.
I hope we entertain you guys. But there's a lot more. There's a lot more to come in the future. So I love cricket. I love talking about cricket. It's a very exciting topic, and there's a lot of duos that you know needs mentioning. I mean, there's so many players that we obviously didn't bring up, like AB de Villiers, Virat Kohli.
Yeah.
Uh,
Okay, so
Ben Stokes.
Okay, so for the members,
there's so many X-Factor players.
Yeah. So for the members,
David Warner.
Yeah.
If you want us to, if you guys, viewers, if you want us to talk about David Warner in our next segment, and if you have a player that we can compare to David Warner, let us know, and we'll talk about it. But yeah.
Okay, it's a wrap from us,
and
thanks so much, Avish.
It was a pleasure. Keep well.